going on, champs and champions? It's FireMonkey here, and even though we have a news topic for today's YouTube video, I do want to mention that Epic Games is still going to be on break for the next 20 days, and I'm slowly running out of stuff to talk about here, so I have a plan. We need to improvise. You, number viewer 227 in the audience, I'm going to need you to go give me 3 copper wires. Viewer number 139, I'm going to need 5 pipe bombs, and viewer number 67, I am going to need you to just get me a lighter or something. We are going to make some news happen. Of course, FBI, if you're watching this video, that is of course a joke. And with that said, let's go ahead and hop in some bot lobby so we can go ahead and talk about today's topic, which is actually a new system that could be coming to the game. Now, personally, I believe that this system is going to be something more that's going to be for rocket racing, but it could be introduced into Battle Royale as well, and it is vehicle hijacking. So the first part of this video is going to be purely based on the leaks themselves, and then the second part is actually going to go more into, some details on my own personal theories about how all of this is going to work. So let's go ahead and tell you guys what is even going on behind the scenes for this vehicle hijacking feature. It was originally leaked by 3 people over on Twitter, being Winsowing, Lulu World, and Beast FN Creative, who had actually noticed there were some files and stuff going on relating to this car hijacking feature, and according to their main 3 bullet points, it appears that you'll be able to hijack other players' cars, meaning, like enemies and everything else, which makes sense because that's kind of the whole entire point of a hijacking feature. But on top of that, they mentioned that it has a cooldown and the action can actually be canceled. So if you're like mid hijack and you want to stop, you're able to stop, but after you actually decide to stop the hijacking, you will have a little bit of a period where you're unable to hijack another vehicle. So that is nice to know that they're not going to just make it so you can go run around hijack 24/7. And then of course the third bullet point that I actually included in all of this news was that a hijacking can fail if the driver takes a sharp turn or if the car goes too fast. So what is vehicle hijacking? Well, to basically kind of explain this, think about it like this. You're currently in your vehicle and then there's another vehicle, and this part is kind of theory but kind of true. It's just kind of like you're near the enemy vehicle that other people are actually in, and you want to go ahead and yoink the driver out of their seat so that you can take full control of the vehicle. It would be a way to actually gain the vehicle's control and everything else without doing a simplistic thing of going around and being like, oh, let me go ahead and sit in the passenger seat or something and shoot at the driver from my seat over here. It is literally a system where you would be hijacking the vehicle by taking the driver out of the vehicle and taking full control over it, meaning that the vehicle could be completely full, all the seats taken up, and you could still hijack it to make it yours and potentially mess around with any other players that were actually in the vehicle, whether that is completely making the vehicle stop so you can hop out and go ahead and shoot at the enemies, or whatever other reason. But it is a pretty cool feature that reminds me a lot of other games like Grand Theft Auto. With that said, however, what does all this have to do with the future of Fortnite, and how would this even really work in the game? Because sure, vehicle hijacking sounds fun and everything, but how are you going to hijack a vehicle? Like if someone's full speed ahead, driving down the railroad or whatever else, how am I supposed to hijack it? Well, there are 2 ways I can see this actually being done, right? You would have one way, which is you going ahead and getting your Lamborghini or whatever vehicle you really use in Fortnite, and you would go ahead and, try driving up as close as possible. Now, this is a little bit of theory and not confirmation, but assuming you're neck and neck with this other vehicle, you would be able to maybe, for example, jump onto the vehicle, use the grapple blades or something, some way that you'd be able to get on top of the vehicle in order to actually interact with the driver's seat, in order to, yoink the driver out of their spot and onto the road or whatever else, and you would be able to hijack it that way. Or of course, it could be more of a chase system where you could go ahead and lean out of your vehicle like you would when you're aiming a gun or something, and as long as you're close enough to the other vehicle, you'd be able to hold down a prompt in order to try hijacking into the other one. Now, of course, that is just a little bit of a theory on how it could actually work. It's not confirmation of how it could work, but it is a little bit of a weird mechanic that requires a lot of different things in order for it to actually, be implemented properly in the game. So I would be interested to see how they would even go about putting this in Battle Royale. And because of that, it's a reason why I think that this could potentially be for creative mode and rocket racing instead of just for Battle Royale. I think rocket racing would actually have this in a lot better of a way, because rocket racing already has the whole entire ability to, wreck other people's vehicles. I mean, you just slightly tap someone, they get spun around 1,000,000 degrees, and all of a sudden, they're just out of the race in last place. So imagine if you were able to do their upcoming mode, which is the death races, and actually yoink someone out of their vehicle, putting them at a disadvantage while a wall is closing in or something like that, causing them to potentially lose that round, all because you actually managed to hijack their vehicle. It would make a lot more sense for the vehicle-based mode to have that feature instead of it being just a Battle Royale thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came to Battle Royale as well. Royale. And like another way I could see this actually working in Battle Royale would be a system where, for example, let's say you actually manage to get on top of another person's vehicle. So if I hop up here, I'm on top of it while it's driving outwards, you know that you can actually stand on vehicles while that's going on, and then you were able to actually hijack the vehicle that way instead of trying to be from the outside or, you know, being on a chase where you're like behind or real close. It would make sense if you were able to just kind of hijack it by being on top of it. Maybe they would have more of a surfing mechanic, you know, fully fleshed out for being on top of vehicles, but of course there's a lot of different areas and ways for them to actually take this, so I want to leave it up to you guys in the comments down below. Based on all the leaks and based on my theory in this video on how vehicle hijacking could actually work in the game, how do you think this is actually going to be implemented, and do you think it would be a pretty cool feature to see in Battle Royale, or do you think it's mainly going to be for creative map makers, you know, if they want to have their own little like death race type of thing going on, or do you think it's just going to be specifically for rocket racing and absolutely nothing else? Of course, you know, there's a lot of vague territory, and as we know with any movement mechanic or any mechanic in the game really, when it gets leaked as early as it is right now, there's going to be a ton of changes and different variations of it before it gets enabled in the game, if they decide to even enable it in the game. So it's really just a waiting time to figure out, will this ever come to the game, how will it change, you know, based on the leaks and everything before release, and are we going to be able to use it in every single mode? Of course, you know, not Lego Fortnite or Fortnite Festival, but are we going to be using it in every single mode that actually features vehicles, and will it be a toggle for creative map makers to enable or disable it? Because, you know, I assume some creative map makers don't want vehicle hijacking to actually be enabled, which might actually be a reason that this got leaked by, you know, one of the people who actually does creative leaks, because they are already working on settings or something like that for creative modes. But until next time, I'll catch you champs and champions a little bit later for another video. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, and peace out.